So I'm a musician for an in-house band, and one of the responsibilities as being in this position is taking song requests and making sure that the audience is having a good time. And so when I was a trainee, I spent a lot of my time observing the show, whether if it's looking at the audience, looking at my bandmates, what songs they decided to play. You just need to observe a lot to get the feel for the show. And so one of the song requests that my bandmates chose to take and play was The Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing. And so they start playing the song, and it was pretty late in the evening, and so people were swaying to the music. They were very excited. And I was watching the show. I was like, oh, okay, this was a really good call in this time, because it was a request for one, and also, like, just in the point of the show, you have to piece the songs together so that way it's in a coherent order. But I was watching the crowd, like, oh, good, things are going well. And then I see this guy, and I was like, what's he doing? And so the guy was doing this, and I was like, what is it? Not to me. He was just off in the audience, and I was like, oh, that's weird. So I was watching him, and then I watched this one guy run towards him, and then kind of like pause for a second, and then the dude was like, oh, no, like, go to the side. And so everyone was kind of swaying because it was a little later in the evening, and they were a little more intoxicated. But then it happened. The next guy in line for the dude who was motioning, he takes off running, and then everybody realizes too late that they're trying to emulate the scene in Dirty Dancing where the guy lifts the girl up in the air. And so he got a running start, and everyone's like, no, like slow motion, no. But then he grabs him and he holds him up over his head, and everyone's like, what is this madness? And for a fraction of a second, this guy was having the time of his life. His arms were back, his head was tilted up, and he was as stiff as a board. But then it turns out that whenever you run towards someone and jump up, there's that constant motion. I think that's how physics work. I think that's what that's called. And so he had the time of his life before he landed on the stage, on the ground, and then the guy who was holding him fell on top of him, and he didn't move. And honestly, I thought that he died for just before he started moving. He was still for a second and then just started moving. He was like, yeah. I was like, that dude is gonna have a serious hangover in the morning. But he had the time of his life for sure. Drunk people are very entertaining.